Hey everyone, welcome to Target Tuesday. This is Todd Senior, Bowtech Brand Manager. It's a great Target Tuesday today because this past weekend was the IBO first leg of the Triple Crown, and our own Erin McGladdery took second place in the Women's Pro Division. And if you watched last year, she was a dominating force through the whole season, enough that she took home the championship. So we wanted to bring her back again and talk to her live. Take all your questions. So get those questions in because this is a great opportunity to talk with Erin. It could be about bows. It could be about getting started in 3D archery because she is a wealth of knowledge. This is her second season in. Last year was her rookie season, so I don't think she can be considered a rookie anymore now that she's won the championship. So Erin, thanks for joining us. I know you're getting ready for, I think, a wedding out there, and you have an ASA coming up in North Carolina there, or in that area. So I appreciate you joining us.
Hey, I'm happy to be here. It's been a while.
No doubt. I think it's been a year since the championship. We had an opportunity to talk with you. So
yeah, just about.
Yeah. So I know the weather is pretty warm there. We're just talking about the heat and the humidity, and you know, let's talk weather a little bit. So you're you're from Canada, so I don't know if people know that. I think most people do know that. So what is there anything that affects you making that transition? I know you came to Reading not too long ago, I think a week ago before that, which was a little toasty out there, and then now you're heading out to the southeast. So does that play is there effect on you? Does that play into your game any?
At this point, not really. The only time it's really bad is in the winter. When it's winter at home, like when we shoot Foley, you're going from like 100 degrees Fahrenheit swing. So that's the worst part. But right now it's not so bad. I mean, the only difference is really the humidity. It's so humid out here on the East Coast.
Right.
But other than that, it's good.
Yeah, not bad, not bad. So let's talk about coming off the championship. So we were able to talk to you kind of at the end of your rookie season last year. So once you become a champion like that, all bets are off. No more rookie talk at that point. So let's talk your transition coming from that championship, moving into the new year. So that was pretty much the end of the year. I know you do a little bit of your indoor game. What's your mental preparation? What were your goals? Let's do that. What were your goals, one, coming into the 2018 season? I know probably winning again, but I know kind of some personal goals. And two, what's your preparation for that going into the 2018 season?
Right. So, yeah, rookie season, it was good, but I kind of sat down at the end of season and said, okay, there are so many things I feel like I need to do better to sort of be where I want to be and get to the next level. The biggest thing I probably made a goal of was to become more competitive in the ASA and work on my shot execution. So as soon as the season ended last fall, I made the switch to a back tension release. So that was probably the biggest switch, and I've stuck with that. So still rolling with that, and it's going well. And then aside from that, my goals, I kind of take it in smaller steps rather than saying, okay, my goal is to win this, this, and this. I find that sort of too long term.
Sure.
So I make smaller goals. Sometimes
baby steps. Baby steps.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Exactly. So that I don't get ahead of myself. Like for me to focus on the Triple Crown, it's just kind of wasted energy in my mind because there's 3 tournaments you got to get through, and each tournament has 2 rounds. And so I just really break it into much smaller segments. Otherwise, it sort of overwhelms me.
Sure. Well, let's talk that transition to back tension because we get that question quite often is whenever we interview yourself or Paige or Tim Gillingham or any of our pros, Dami Budin, I always get that question, back tension, caliper release, and we see more and more, even Tim did it. Tim made that transition a little bit and played around with it. But we see so many, and I know I dealt with it too, when you make that transition to back tension, there's a big learning curve. What helped you with that learning curve, switching from your caliper release to go to a back tension?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really understand the shot execution and that whole process with the back tension. I honestly didn't understand it until I really sat down, took the sight off my bow, and just blank bailed in my house for a month to sort of grasp the concept of it, because I grew up shooting guns, and so you're kind of squeezing the trigger and you're sort of command shooting it. Same thing with, that's how I shot my trigger. with my bow as well, just sort of get on the spot and fire that shot. So going from that to shooting a more surprise shot was a little bit rough. But I guess the biggest step I took was I shot hundreds and hundreds of arrows, probably thousands, before I even started aiming. So there wasn't too much going on, and that really helped me. And honestly, the transition wasn't too bad because I spent a solid month just blank bailing and getting my execution down. So although I still have to work on it, I do feel like it was well worth that little extra effort.
Sure, and it really comes down to time behind it. And that's the thing. I see a lot of people that ask that question, and they expect to be successful right out of the gate, and they shoot maybe an hour a day. So I mean, that's proof in the pudding there that if you put the time behind the arrows, you can make that transition.
I think another thing too with back tension, I just read somebody, I'm not sure who posted this, I think it was Levi somewhere, about back tension, and I was under the impression that you had to work as hard as you could. Like you had to engage so many muscles and just pull as hard as you could to fire that shot. And that's how some people kind of work their back tension release, but that's not really how I'm shooting mine. So once I sort of learned that there's different ways to do it, it was much easier to sort of make that transition.
Right. There's a lot of, between like Rio and even Jesse Broadwater. I mean, I think Rio is pure just, rip it through, and where Jesse runs relaxes his hand. So that's a good point. There's a lot, what works for everybody. I've tried both ways and it messes with my head. So that's a good point. You've got to really put the time and figure out what works best. I like that.
Exactly. And that's just what I had to do was I would take what somebody's doing. I would try different finger pressure, rotating the release, pulling as hard as I could, and just sort of found I would say shoot a happy medium, and it seems to work for me. It's the most consistent. The only thing I really changed with my setup was I went way up in holding weight, which I found sort of helped me hold better, nicer sight picture. So I went from 11 pounds of holding weight to around 16.
Okay.
So
it makes a big difference. Well, one thing a lot of people may or may not know about you is you are a hunter. You are a trapper at heart. Because I think a lot of times I see more hunting and trapping posts than tournament posts, which is really, really cool because you don't see that side of target archers a whole lot. You see a lot of, all your successes. Let's talk about your hunting season, your trapping season. How did that go?
Oh, man. I mean, it was good in a sense that I spent a ton of time out there in the wild, which is my favorite place to be. There's nowhere else I'd rather really be than hunting. So that was really good. I saw a ton of game. I spent a lot of time in the stand, and I spent a lot of time glassing mule deer hills, but I just didn't find a deer that I really, really wanted. So I didn't actually shoot anything last fall, which is weird for me, but I just didn't want to settle for, a deer that I really didn't want. And then my brother had a moose tag. So in terms of meat, I would pick moose every time over deer. So I just got meat from him, and I didn't fill a single tag. So, I mean, it was kind of hit and miss. Our deer population up north took a really bad hit a few years ago. So killing one just to kill it is just wasn't really in the cards for me.
No,
but it was still good.
I like that. And then, any time in the field's better than one sitting around the house, right?
Exactly. And so I find that to be a really therapeutic and a nice mental break from the tournament side of things. So I always look forward to the fall. It's just the best.
I hear that. I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
Me too.
What bow did you hunt with last year?
I hunted with the Rain 7.
Okay.
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. So let's talk about let's talk about pipe stem. I think this is a good opportunity to talk about that. So I know you had in Reading, you did well, but you had a little bit of a mishap, I think, and I think you kind of confessed it was more on you than anything in Reading. So we won't mess with Reading. So let's talk about pipe stem. So I know coming into pipe stem, you're ready to get it done, and I think you started off fairly well, but you had a little ground to make up. So let's walk us through day one. Why don't you walk us through day one and kind of how that day went?
So, as you said, I did do something really dumb in Reading, and then I was preparing for pipe stem, and I decided to shoot my ASA bow, so I had to switch some things over, really simple things, and I ended up moving my nocking point down just a couple days before I left for pipe stem, and for some reason, I just forgot to move my peep down as well. So that was a really dumb mistake. So day one, I got out there, and everything on my anchor point just didn't feel great, and I couldn't stay in my peep, and I just didn't shoot well. I was not very happy with my performance. I just felt like I couldn't make my best shots. So then I reevaluated after day one. I was 15 points back from the lead after day one, super upset, you know, trying to figure out, okay, what can I do right now to have a chance tomorrow? So I went back to the bags, put my peep in the right spot, which is a really simple fix. And then day two was really good. My bow was shooting awesome. I feel super confident with that. And I managed to sort of get back in the mix. So that was good.
Well, when you say 15 points back, I mean, yes, you're 15 points back, but you're technically only, I think, in 5th place tied, because a lot of those spots where you guys were all kind of shooting the same. All you ladies are shooting the same in there. So it's not as bad as it sounds when you say 15 back when you're sitting in 5th. And
yeah, and like that's the thing with unknown is anything could happen. So you just have to find a way to stay focused and get through another day.
Sure. So, you know, going into day two, I mean, you really poured the coals on. I mean, what was your focus? I mean, what did you do? I mean, you got your bow hitting on all cylinders, but mentally, kind of what did you do going into the second day to get yourself really mentally back into the game? Because I know it's tough coming into that second day when you're thinking, oh, I'm 15 points, 15 points down. I got to get in there and catch them. So what's going through Erin's head?
I mean, the nice thing about this game is that you just get to aim in the middle. So center 10 all day. There's really not a lot of strategy in terms of versus the ASA where you're aiming at 12. So my goal was to just go out there and really stay focused, try to hit as many as I could, and if nothing else, get back somewhere close to the leaders for the Triple Crown race was my main goal, is to sort of narrow that gap, because 15-point spread is a lot, and I didn't want to be in that situation leaving the first leg. So that was my main goal, was to gain some ground and really minimize my errors. Right.
Well, you know, and let's talk about ASA a little bit too, because I don't want to discount your presence in the ASA, because every single tournament this season so far, you've been up there in those shoot-off contentions. You know, I know we talked a little before we came on the air, kind of talking ASA, IBO, and I know in the message I sent out before, after promoting your win, I said, no, IBO is Erin's game, but you are a dominant force in the ASA as well. So, you know,
I mean, my ASA game is coming along. That was one of my main goals after last year. After I'd kind of seen what the ASA was and how it worked and how that game is played, I sort of took the time to kind of work on a strategy. So whether it's targets under a certain distance, I'm going to aim at the 12s, or I'm going to play it safe on certain ones. And then I spent a lot of time before Foley. I would manage to get down south earlier and really look at targets and try to judge a little more off those targets' sizes rather than just the ground. So the more I look at these targets, it's getting better, and I feel like I'm shooting a lot better than I was last year at this time. So it's coming along, and if I can just string together 2 really good days, I think I'll have a good chance. So I feel like I always have one day that's great and one day that's not great. So I'm trying to make that more consistent with the judging aspect. So it's coming along though.
Yeah, and that's the name of the game. And you know, you're not the only one that's prone to it. You see leaders all the time. Top world archers like yourself. It's the same thing. Be spot on the first day, you know, and then off the next day, or vice versa. So it's, you know, even those of you that are amateurs watching, even the pros are susceptible to inconsistencies day to day, which is, I mean, it's archery. I mean, it's a little different if you're shooting rifles, but, you know, this is about your physical performance as well. So.
Yeah, and sometimes, like, especially in the ASA, I always find it's like 2 to 3 targets a weekend that just kill my score. So that's my goal, is to stop doing that and turn my 5s into 8s, and then I feel like I'd be right in the mix. So,
right.
Yeah, lots of work to do, and just keep grinding through it. That's all I can really do with that.
I like that. I like grinding through it. So let's talk a little bit about bows. So, coming into last year, I mean, you're a world champion in IBO. So realistically, you could have, you could shoot any bow out there. Why do you pick Bowtech? I asked this from everybody, Paige and Tim. Why do you pick Bowtech as your go-to bow? I mean, what does it get you in your game?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me that makes it super easy to set up a bow, whether it's out of the box or like I switch back and forth like from my ASA setup to my IBO setup sometimes, and so I need it to be really easy to tune, because I don't want to be spending a whole day tuning my bow when I could be judging targets. So the dual yoke system is probably my #1 favorite thing about my bows, because then I can just tune it, get it to bullet hole without moving my rest a whole bunch, and it's really quick and simple. If I didn't have the dual yokes, I think I would struggle quite a bit with tuning. It just seems like a lot more work. But so tuning wise, they've been awesome, and I'm really enjoying shooting my BT mag. I'm actually shooting that for everything right now, and it seems to be working well. So I'm going to stick with that for a while.
And Paige just switched over her BT mag. She was texting with me prior to going to Turkey and had switched over that, and she's like, "What have I been doing? Why have I not shot this BT mag?"
I know, that's what I told her. I stayed with her in Reading, and I said, "You got to shoot this bow. Like, get your BT mag out and just try it, because I just find that mine shoots so well for me." So I'm excited for her. She's got matches tomorrow, I think. So that's awesome.
She does. I've been following her and Danielle and Robin Rep. I mean, we've got 3 of the 5 right now that are on the team shooting Bowtech, which is phenomenal. So if you guys are not following it, get on there, follow USA Archery. Keep an eye on those 3 archers, because they are shooting phenomenally with their Bowtechs out there. So we have a couple questions coming in. I have one guy here, Marco from Brazil. He's been messaging us nonstop right here, so I have to give him a shout out. Actually, he wants you to give him a shout out. So it says, "Hello, Erin." It says, "Hello, Erin. Good evening. Send a hello to Brazil, and also I want to say you are very beautiful."
Oh, thank you.
And she blushed. Marco, you just made her blush.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a good one.
Now.
Dan Howard. So this is our good friend Dan Howard. He is on every single one of our live events. So Dan, again, I appreciate you following us along. So Dan wants to know, how do you deal with target panic? You don't have target panic, do you?
Okay, let's talk about target panic. So at the end of last year, as we talked about, I was command shooting my release or punching it. Call it what you will. It is what it is.
Hammering it? You gotta hammer it, right?
Yeah.
Pulling a hammer.
Talk to Tim Gillingham. And I shot the Pro Series in Wales, and it was super windy. And I wouldn't say that I had full-on flinchy target panic, but I could feel it. I could feel kind of that anxious, panicky feeling when I needed to fire that shot when my pin was in that right spot. And of course you're blowing around, so my pin was just going crazy, and it gave me anxiety. And as soon as that happened to me, that's the moment I said, okay, no more. I need to switch to a different style of shot, at least until I can overcome this. And then maybe one day I'll go back to it. But until I feel like I need to shoot better scores or anything like that, I'm just going to stick with it, because I don't feel that anticipation with this release. So that's what I did, and it worked.
There you go, Dan. That's what she did. You can't go wrong with what Erin did. Well, let's talk about London. You have London coming up here pretty quick. We actually had a couple people. One of our other staff shooters on here, Shelly Harper, she said congrats, and she will see you in London. So
thanks, Shelly.
Let's talk about your prep. I know you have a wedding you're attending there, so let's talk about your London prep. Coming off an IBO, what are you doing to prep for London?
Yeah, so I'm taking a couple days. I'm actually in North Carolina at the beach, and that's why I'm so sunburnt.
That's rough.
So I'm spending a little.
Let me cry a tear for you. You're at the beach.
Yeah, I know, so sad. So I guess I'm working on my mental game while I'm here. And then I'll be back on Friday midday, and I'll immediately get my bow rolling, and I'll start shooting targets. I'm probably going to shoot a few spots games actually at 20 yards. That's what I like to do to really get back in the groove of shooting my bow, and then I'll just be looking at targets, trying to figure out how to minimize those spots and get that out of my life, and then just get ready to go and get focused. That's it.
I like it. You got your focus. Brian Caston is asking, let's talk about your bow setup. So as far as accessories, what is your arrow and sight? What's your arrow, sight, and stabilizer setup?
So for ASA, I am shooting gold tip X cutters. I think I have 120 in the front of those. I shoot an Excel Achieve sight with a Shrewd housing. I shoot a 4-power lens, clear target lenses, and then I shoot a Hamskea drop away rest and a Hamskea peep with a yellow clarifier in there. And then right now I'm shooting a Scott Pro Advantage hinge for release, and I got Vortex binos.
There you go.
Bee Stinger stabilizers, and Threads custom bowstrings.
Oh yeah, get a shout out to Margie and Jerry Carter right there, Team Bowtech.
Yep, right, part of the family.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. I'm sure they're probably watching. And I'm glad you brought up that your setup there as far as running 125 grains in the point of your X cutters. And I think a lot of people that aren't, or maybe new to archery, don't are new to you got a visitor.
Yeah.
Are thinking 125 grains, because to a lot of people that sounds like potentially indoor target setup, but they don't know yet. You have a decent draw length. You're taller than I think a lot of people assume. They probably saw you in the podium, with the other ladies and noticed that. But what's your draw length?
So my draw length's just over 29 inches. But the thing about the ASA is with the speed cap, the BT mag at 60 pounds is pretty fast.
Yeah.
So I get to shoot those big fat arrows with a heavy point, and they seem to shoot really well for me. So that's why I'm running that setup. For the IBO, I shoot a Series 22 with only 80 in the front.
Right.
And it's around, actually it's almost 40 feet faster than my ASA setup.
Right, but you can do that, and that's one thing you had mentioned why you like that IBO game a little bit, because you have a little bit more, because you have a little more forgiveness there, right?
Right, exactly. I feel like I stress a lot less about yardage when I'm shooting the IBO, because I know it's not going to matter. That arrow should still catch the 10 if I'm 2 yards out, whereas in the ASA, I just think way too much about it because I know my bow is slow. So that's one thing I'm really starting to work on, not overthinking it, the yardage, because it is getting better. So
sure, and that makes a big difference on when you're shooting for a 14 ring in the shoot off, right? Get a little less margin for error when it's the size of a dime.
Exactly.
Another good question from Dan Howard is, what is the longest shot you have taken? I know you go to Reading, so you got the 101 Bigfoot. Is that the longest shot you've taken? So I'm assuming he's meaning target, not necessarily hunting, but target.
Yeah, I don't really take any long shots hunting. I just haven't had to. But target, I've shot out only out to 110 yards, because I can never really get more clearance than that on my scope without moving it in and out. So that's our furthest shot. It's fun to shoot that distance, but I honestly haven't spent a lot of time shooting those long shots. I know some guys will stretch it out to 150 yards and stuff like that, but I just haven't made time for it. So sure. 110 is long enough for me.
What are your thoughts around getting into the World Cup FIDA game along with Paige and all that crew? You ever consider doing more of the World Cup side?
I've thought of it. I mean, I have shot a handful of FIDAs back when I first started shooting. But with the schedule and how many 3D tournaments, plus you add in, Reading and OPA and things like that, it starts to add up to be a crazy amount of tournaments. And I feel like I would have to pick and choose between 3D or World Cup stuff. And so right now I'm just focusing on the 3D game and trying to really have a better chance to get on the podiums there.
Sure, that makes sense. Kind of like similar to what you talked about, little short baby steps throughout the year before you jump. Again, it's your second year on the circuit, right? Your second second big year.
Yeah, it's nice to kind of have that rookie season out of
Yeah.
the way, honestly. It's a totally different experience when you're going to places you've already been. You know what to expect. You know everybody. It's just different.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
So what's the rest of your season look like? You know, we have a lot of the rest of the ASA season, the IBO season come up. So what's your, outside of those, I mean, what's your season look like?
Yeah, I mean, we have Kentucky, then we have a week off, and then we roll 3 in a row. I think it's IBO, OPA, Metropolis maybe, and then it's a week off, then IBO, then, you know, we got a good break in July. So in July, I plan to kind of take maybe a week or 10 days and go up north with my family and go fishing and kind of take a little break then. But
Sure.
Until then, there's really no breaks because we have 4 tournaments in June. So it's just get it done.
Do you stay stateside for most of the season, or are you traveling back home throughout the season?
Yeah,
or?
I'm staying stateside most of it because I just found it to go home for 5 days. It was just too exhausting. So just really allows me to focus better and spend less time on an airplane that I could use that time to practice. So
Sure.
It's been good.
So one last question we have for you is, there's a lot of people that want to get started in 3D archery. They've dabbled in hunting a little bit, and there's a lot of people, there's a big growth in just not necessarily people wanting to hunt, but they want to get into more target archery and they're interested in 3D. Coming off your rookie season, what is your recommendations for somebody that wants to get started? Not necessarily to compete at a high level, but just kind of, you know, what they should do to get started.
I think the biggest thing is to, if you can and if it's available, just get to a local 3D tournament. If that's what you want to try, or even a local indoor tournament, so you can kind of feel out that tournament setting. Taking your hunting bow with your field points to a 3D shoot, there's nothing wrong with that. And I mean, especially down here throughout the U.S., there are a lot of tournament options and a lot of classes. So whether it's youth or kids or senior, amateur, whichever, I think that's a great step, is to just get to a tournament. You may love it, you might hate it, but until you go, you're not going to know.
Sure. I said one last question, but Phil just jumped threw one in here really quick. So Phil Donachek is asking, what poundage are you normally shooting your bow at?
I normally stay right around 60 pounds because that is the cap in the IBO. So I like to sort of keep the same poundage just to keep it consistent. So normally right around 60, sometimes 60 and a half or 59, you know, anywhere between there. But
Well, you have that fortunate draw length, so you don't have to shoot all that poundage to get the speed, right?
Yeah, and it's just, honestly, like, it's just so hard on the body to really push yourself for that long of a season. I could shoot 70 pounds if I so desired, but it's so hard on the body that there's no need for that.
Yeah. You're still young. You don't want to wreck your body this early, right?
Well, yeah, wreck it anymore.
Well, I really appreciate you taking an opportunity to joining us today. I know I wanted to grab you before you headed on to London and everything else. I know you're prepping. You're probably ready to get to the beach again today and enjoy the weather, right?
Hey, no worries. It's good to be here. It's always good to connect and speak with you guys. It's been too long.
It has. Well, we're going to watch you in London, so we might have you back on again. We'll all be watching. I know I watch you guys through the weekend. I'm texting with you, and definitely good luck out there. Go out there. I know you'll do well as always.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome. So thanks for joining us again. Everybody, I appreciate you joining us today. It was a great opportunity to speak with Erin coming off her big win in Pipestem, West Virginia. And I know we see a lot more big things to come through the rest of the season. So if you have not done so yet, make sure you are texting Target to 77453. That'll get you notifications whenever we go live. So whenever we have Erin on here again or any of our other pros, we try to go every Tuesday after a tournament and promote all of our winners. I know a lot of our amateur winners are coming through as far as from IBO Pipestem. So I'm going to start putting those out. Unfortunately, I didn't get them all. I think I think Miss Angela Nestor was on the podium. I think she was one of the big winners this weekend. So I think Angela's watching. So I apologize for not getting an image up for you really quick. But Angela Nestor, she did take the top spot on the podium in her class this past weekend, along with Erin. So we had, among some other Bowtechs, I know there was a lot of non-factory shooters that were on the podium as well. So. Again, make sure you are texting Target to 77453. That should that'll give you a notification when we're live on Target Tuesday. Also, you can text Go Live to 77453, and you'll get a notification when we have all of our live content throughout the week, from Nate Zielinski to Randy Newberg. I'm doing an interview coming this Friday with Mike Straw from Savage Outdoors in the One, so that's a great opportunity to get your questions in and talk to Mike. So text Go Live to 77453 and you'll get that notification. So again, Erin, I'll let you go. I'll let you head out to the beach. I know you got your shades. You're ready to go. Everyone else, thanks for joining us. Until next time, have fun and shoot straight.